Part 2. But let's continue if you don't believe me. Listen up. Quote, more so it was in Babylon that he was referred to as Pulu, and his son as some other name. Pulu and both his sons taking up Assyrian names is another suggestion that they were foreigners who had usurped the crown of Assyria at the revolt of Kalhu. The identification of Pul, 2 Kings 15 and 19, with Tiglath-Pileser III has been bolstered by the discovery and interpretation of the Phoenician inscription from Kilili, line 5, which reads, quote, Pulu, the great king of Assyria. Stop. Surely you know. Surely you must know. There is no way in Hades he could accomplish this through the result of an internal/faction civil war. You would have an ancient Antifa all over the place. Haven't you seen Braveheart before? No. This was humanity versus humanity, with one not being able to withstand an enemy they had no record of knowing how to defend themselves against. An entire humanity would have to be in agreement. I'm going to say it again. An entire humanity would have to be in agreement with what he did, with the power to suppress, to pull it off without someone spilling the beans on his rules, etc. Now check out how the new humanity spread like a virus. Please remember, he was already governor in the capital city, thus second in command of Syria. Yet, we see he and his sons have ties to the new Babylonians. We can look at this fact in two ways. Was he sandbagging on his performance by not sharing his ideas for such sweeping advancements to better serve the empire? Or was he a sleeper cell waiting on his netherworld kinsman to do the damn thing? Check it out. Under reign, quote, Assyrian power in the Near East greatly increased as a result of Tiglath-Pileser's military reforms and his campaigns of conquest. In October 729 BCE, Tiglath-Pileser assumed total control of Babylon, capturing the Babylonian king Nebu something and having himself crowned as, personal quote, King Pulu of Babylon. Stop. Bam! So that's two places with one guy. But don't worry. The Babylonian kings list calls him out as a usurper, and he didn't make the list of kings, quote, kings whose fathers are known. But as you can imagine, the true damage has been done. Now here comes the part where the images come into play, and your understanding in this realm, two things do not occupy the same space at the same time. What I mean is, there is no way this can be true. Quote, according to the royal inscriptions of Tiglath-Pileser, many of the inhabitants were enslaved and deported to other parts of the Assyrian Empire, as commonly done by his predecessors. At sieges, captives were slaughtered and their bodies raised on stakes and displayed before the city. There is no way that can be true, and there not be another logical reason for the concrete evidence of this. Under reforms, quote, instead of a largely native Assyrian army, which normally campaigned only in the summertime, Tiglath-Pileser incorporated large numbers of conquered people into the army, thus adding a substantial foreign element. Stop. Surely you must know they didn't invite sabotage by incorporating large numbers of their conquered foes. You know, the kinsmen of those they slaughtered and impaled on stakes for their other kinsmen to see? No. The foreign element that came with them were the other diversified humanity members that ascended upon the earth with him. When we get to our Egyptian humanity takeover video, I will show you exactly, straight from the hands of the ancient scribes, what modern countries were given into the hands of those from the netherworld. To wrap this section up, I want to show you how much territory, thus kingdoms for the other diversified kings to rule, this one king amassed in under 18 puny years. Surely, to do this, they had to be head and shoulders above everyone else. Check it out. Quote, Tiglath-Pileser III subjugated much of the Near East region. To the south, his fellow Mesopotamians in Babylon and Chaldea. Stop! Did you catch it? Didn't we just learn this cat was a foreigner to both Assyria and Babylon? Notice, the writer legitimizes this humanity takeover by saying, quote, his fellow Mesopotamians in Babylon and Chaldea. Proof the takeover was firmly in place. We are not rocket scientists, and we are using the information the highly educated put forth. If we can piece this together, so should they. They are sandbagging plain and simple on us, people. But let's continue, please. Quote, Tiglath-Pileser III subjugated much of the Near East region. To the south, his fellow Mesopotamians in Babylon and Chaldea. And further south still, the Arabs, Magans, something else, and somebody else of the Arabian Peninsula. In the southwest, Israel, Judah, Palestine, Samaria, Moab, Edom, and the Sutanines, and Nebatim fell. Listen up. Very important for a future video. Listen up. Very important for a future video. Listen up. Very important for a future video. Quote, to the north, Araturut, Armenia, and Scythia in the Caucasus Mountains, Crimea by the Black Sea, and Neriri were subjugated. And in the northwest, much of eastern and southwest Asia Minor, including the Hittites, something else, Sicilia, something else, Tubal, something else, and Kara. In the west, the Greeks of Cyprus and Aram, which is modern Syria, and the Mediterranean city-states of Phoenicia/Canaan were subjugated. I told you that region was African. The modern NOAA map is just as inaccurate and egregious as the Black Hebrew Israelite chart. Quote, to the east he subjugated Persia, Media, something else, Manania, some Sicilia, which Cissa. I remember a video I studied them. Very, very, very peculiar people. White people. I mean, pure white. Well, let's keep going. And Elam. What? And Elam. Did you hear these things? Let me say this again. To the east, he subjugated Persia, Media, Gutium, Mannea, Cissa, and Elam. And later, in his reign, Tiglath-Pileser III was crowned king in Babylon. Example. Wow. Did you hear all that? Simply amazing. All of this in as little as 18 puny years, which can only mean each and every region we just named are inhabited by the pests of the earth. As you can also plainly see, he was the guy who went outside of our earth circuit to those of the extreme north. I want you to notice those names. You're going to hear it again. It's very important information. Remember it. Thank you for looking at this support video. My God's will, look for the next. Little Miss Ivy, I sensed they were wallowing in doubt during our two different assured discovery. If we don't get their minds right about this fundamental fact now, they will never be able to. That's right, little sister. They will never be able to handle the truth. Let's stay true to our ship motto and leave no doubt behind. Set a course for Uncle Ezekiel Island. Execute.